We've got $50 to make the best CS investment we can. Now, starting off here with one of the most interesting areas over the past couple of weeks, it's going to be the Armory. Now, we talked a lot about the Armory and specifically how the ROI has decreased so significantly all across the board. Honestly, what we've seen inside of this area is really not too surprising. Unfortunately, it just seems like the Armory has kind of lived its usage, or rather, it's gotten to the point now where people aren't super interested. However, there's one area that's been drastically impacted by this, and that's actually going to be your three main collections. Now, we've brought these up a time and time again, just really wondering if the investment opportunity is there. If we want to look at older collections like your Norse, St. Mark, and a lot of others, they have returned very profitable outlooks over the past couple of years. But talking about these collections for the Armory, obviously it's very dependent on them actually getting removed from the game. But the data we're seeing right here is absolutely insane. Over the past couple of weeks, we've seen a significant drop off, especially when we look at a graph like this. We are on a very significant downtrend all across the board when it comes to these Armory collections, specifically these cheaper skins. These are obviously your industrials, as it says, so these are the lowest tier. Therefore, it begs the question, is now the time to pick some of these up for an investment? If you're looking for the lowest fees on the market, Skin Vault is the perfect place for you, with a free up to $10 on your first trade. They've got a massive deposit bonus to help you out if you're trying to buy some brand new skins, or one of the best prices you're going to be finding for an instant sell site, which is absolutely perfect. Plus, their fees for everything is nearly 50% cheaper than the competition, and your trades are going to be taking under 30 seconds right now. This is trusted by Nate King, but the truth is, use code MasterShiny, I'm just better, and it's going to be the lowest fee you can actually find if you're looking to trade your skins. Now, if you're talking about money, money is found in the case market. Case market has been going absolutely crazy over the past couple of months, and we've talked about this a lot. Obviously, your rare cases here have become very solid investments. We're looking at Danger Zone approaching $1.50, your Prisma's up there as well. Some of the older, more expensive cases have obviously toned down a little bit because they're not going to be in that position where they're gaining a ton of growth anymore. They're a little bit more stable and obviously a little bit older. But there's one case that's been very interesting. That's the Gallery case, keeping up with all the active duty unboxing numbers. Though we talked about the active duty in a lot of different ways. Personally, I just think they're really overpriced, but obviously they're being unboxed a lot, which is why we're seeing this consistent price point among them. Gallery case, obviously a very interesting predicament, but it's being unboxed at a very heavy rate, which I find extremely interesting. Overall, when we're talking about the case market, the rare cases are going to be perfect for this opportunity, as obviously the supply of them is only going to be decreasing. Gallery case, obviously a little bit different. We're waiting to see if it gets removed, but the active duty cases, in my opinion, are probably going to be best to avoid. Even if we do see one get removed, it's probably going to spike and collapse, and honestly, there's a lot of profit to be found in the rare case market. The active duty case market, on the other hand, is really just way too volatile in the current moment. Now, with all that being said, I actually think the rare case market is probably going to stay relatively consistent over the next couple of weeks to maybe a month, just because we're not going to be seeing anything too crazy. We just saw this run up in price, but I really like what we're seeing inside of this area, and especially moving forward. Now, there is some unfortunate news we do need to go over. The truth is the market is decreasing, especially in some specific areas. Looking at a graph like this, you can see a decreasing trend. Zoom out to the 3-month, obviously is on a very strong increasing trend, and therefore I want to make it very clear prices are going to be going down in the short term for some specific items. This is actually a really good part of the market. We talked about it earlier with cases, but it's extremely important that we actually do see some sort of pullback, because when we don't see any pullback, we see a crash. It's happened before, it's happened a lot, and the truth is these pullbacks are actually really good for the overall longevity of what we're seeing for the market. A lot of data is going to support the fact that the market is probably going to be stagnant or maybe slightly decreasing over the next month, and this is all obviously provided that we don't see any actual big change from Valve, because that could screw up everything and make it very positive or very negative. We obviously don't know. An update is something that could throw everything out of balance, but right now we are seeing a slightly decreasing market, which is actually not a very negative thing. I mean, we're talking about agents and a lot of other things. Just slightly decreasing isn't a bad thing, especially for prices that are already so high. Now, one area that we really haven't been talking about too much is going to be Shanghai. Now, obviously Shanghai is not the most interesting thing for a lot of people to hear about, but the fact is it's still in the game, and this is one of the longest periods we've ever seen for a major item being in the game and being on sale. It's absolutely insane considering the Austin Major is here in literally 2 months. That's crazy. But if we want to talk about the data that comes along with it, we can see the application numbers have been pretty relatively consistent inside of this area. Obviously, we're not seeing any massive implications, but they are on an increasing trend, especially for the glitters, which is very interesting. And I think speaks more to of what the people are interested in, being glitters rather than hollows, just because they are a little bit newer. If you want to look at the hollows, obviously a lot of them really haven't been too impactful. Very interesting though, what's going to happen with the Austin Major now, because obviously we've still got these Shanghai items here. Does that mean we're going to be getting an update removing them? We really don't know, but obviously this is a very long time that they have been in the game and have been for sale. Now, speaking on something a little bit more unique like the agent market right here, we can see exactly what's going on. We really haven't been seeing too much growth happen inside of this area, except in the past year when we saw the Armory release. That's because people got very confident in the agent market because it didn't come in with the Armory. They invested into them, and obviously obviously we have seen some returns inside this area, but the truth is we've gotten to the point now where we're relatively stable and kind of stagnant. Now obviously the increasing player count has played an impact here. Obviously if we want to look over the past month and a half, they are up maybe 20-ish%, but this is my biggest focus when I'm talking about investing into assets that are non-consumable. The agent market is kind of stuck. The only thing that can increase the price of the agents right now is external forces like we saw with the Armory, where the prices went up because of it. We're not in a position where we're going to be seeing agents absolutely explode in price unless the hype surrounds it. Now that doesn't necessarily make it a bad investment, but it's just much different than what I would want to invest. I want to invest into consumable items that have increasing or at least stable demand with a decreasing supply. This is never going to have a decreasing supply because obviously you can't eliminate agents other than getting banned, and therefore we're left with this market outlook. Now one market I really love but I have to stay away is going to be the filler skins market. In the current outlook, I really don't see much profit to be made here. We're sitting at roughly $1 for these blue skins, and although that is a relatively cheap price point, it's not cheap enough for me to skim a lot of profit off the top. I wish they were a little bit cheaper because I do think they have very strong potential, but just not at this price point. Now the first investment I'm going to be making is into the snakebite case. Honestly, it's not the strongest case in really any aspect other than price, but when we're talking about picking up a lot of a singular investment, that's exactly what we're looking for right here. It's a rare case, so the supply is going down. It's got some pretty healthy unboxing demand coming along with it, especially for a rare case, and at the end of the day, it's going to be your cheapest option for unboxing a case other than the recoil, which is a very competitive outlook for this case moving forward. I like it. I think it's got strong aspects in all of them, but it's definitely going to take some time, which I don't mind. Now going back to this graph from earlier, I think we would be an absolute fool to not take advantage of what we're seeing right here. These prices are extremely low for the collections of the Armory, and they're definitely not going to be going anywhere today or tomorrow, but I think it's a very strong possibility they get removed somewhere down the line. Therefore, we're going to be picking up some from the graphic collection specifically, because if we want to look at this graph right here, which we didn't show in this video, but we have looked at previously, the graphic collection is significantly lower in the amount of total unboxings for it. I definitely think there's some very strong potential with this, and we're actually going to be doubling up here. Number 3 is going to be the Armory collections of Sport and Field and Overpass split. Now, we're going for the light blue skins in all 3 of these because I think it's going to be our best opportunity at profit, but I definitely don't think we should just be exclusively staying to the graphic collection. If we're looking to invest into these Armory collections, we got to make sure we're diversifying at least a little bit in case one of these collections ends up doing very, very well. I think it's probably going to be the graphic based off the data we've seen, but we don't know for sure, and that's why we need to go after those other 2. Now, the last investment for me, hands down, has got to be that gallery case. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but the gallery case is in a very solid position with the buy order only 88 cents, which is literally just 10% higher than the price you would buy it from Valve if you use the stars. Means people are losing money by selling it at 88 cents, and therefore it's a really hard opportunity to pass up. I definitely think at some point the gallery case is probably going to get removed, and obviously that is a bet, but it's a bet I'm willing to take for only a 10% surplus. Absolutely crazy. That's all I got. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.